Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
2021. Here we go.
Yeah, and we're back in the closet for season 2, which I just can't believe. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be back in the closet. It seemed kind of weird to not be in the closet. Like,
it really did. Yeah.
I almost had like withdrawals of I need to talk about my feelings right now.
Luckily, we still talked quite a bit over the break,
yes,
which was nice.
Of course,
so
yeah.
I got my fill of my stuff, just not in person and not here with all of our podcast friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting to be kicking off our second season, implementing all the things that we learned.
Yeah.
Hopefully, growing and changing and evolving, but hitting some relevant things. We've got some really cool guests lined up for this season as well, and lots of exciting ideas that we just continue building on. So I think the break was nice, but it feels even better to be back.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was like counting down the days too. Well, it's just you don't realize something that makes such a big impact in your life until it's gone. And I was like, holy, like even just the fact that you're here almost every week, I almost got kind of sad because we had to schedule our time together. I'm like, wait, I have a guaranteed Julianne every week. Why do I have to schedule you?
Right? And Cashew was so excited to see me tonight.
Oh my goodness. He's a little puppy and he was even tired and he was so excited to see you.
Like, oh my God, my friend, she came back.
Yeah. I missed her.
Probably thought he was abandoned, but
yeah,
I would never do that to him.
Yeah. Gosh, no, you can't do that face.
No. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
And, we thought, New Year, let's talk about resolutions.
Yes.
It's a hot topic these days. I feel like you can't open Instagram or Facebook or anything or even have a conversation with somebody and not talk about, so what are you changing this year? What are your goals? What's going on? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah, what a better way to start off a new season with something that everyone kind of has either done or something that everyone kind of despises in a way. We actually did a poll on Instagram this time, and going forward, we do plan to actually start doing more polls and questions because we do want to make this podcast as much of it as it is for us, but for you guys as well. We do really want to hear your guys' opinions as well. So going forward, before we do a podcast episode, we're gonna maybe perhaps do a poll, so always keep an eye out. If you're not following Instagram, Thriving Tides, follow us. We post pretty decent content, I think, so pretty good time.
We may be a little biased.
Yeah, a little biased, but anyways, It was kind of interesting because the first thing I did was actually I did a poll, and we asked our followers, we are curious, perhaps a hint to what's in the works for today's episode, but did you set a New Year's resolution this year? And it was kind of interesting because it kind of kept going back and forth from like yes to no, from yes to no, but it landed, as we record this, 64% say no, and only 36% said yes.
Interesting.
Which I thought was quite interesting, but at the same time, I have noticed that as I've aged and grown up a little bit, there's not that much pressure on New Year's resolutions, I find.
Right.
It's not a big thing as it was back then where, like, everyone was telling each other what their New Year's resolution is, and you saw more, like, accountability buddies and stuff like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think, too, just, like, the world as it is right now, everyone's just so tired.
Yeah.
Right. And it might feel a little bit overwhelming to take on a resolution or something big and new. So I don't know. I'm sure there's many different factors playing into that response, but I'll be curious to see if it continues to change as well. But yeah, 64-36, that's a pretty, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm a little surprised by that.
Right? Polls are always interesting.
Yeah, they're fun. And you just never know who you're going to catch and what's going to, come up. But I love that people are interacting with us on Instagram. And like you said, Steph, like we'll definitely do more of that because it's fun.
Yeah,
It keeps
exactly.
it interesting.
And we got a couple really cool responses that we might bring up a little bit later too in this episode. But for people that, perhaps have never heard of New Year's resolutions. What are New Year's resolutions, Julianne?
What are they? I'm like the definition girl in this crew. What are they? The more you know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really a tradition that dates back like forever, probably. But you resolve to continue good practices. So I guess that's where like resolution comes from, right? So you might be starting something new, changing an undesirable trait or behavior that you have. You might have a personal or professional goal that you will want to achieve. But the big part too is that, it all starts with the new year. So it's like fresh start, new year, new calendar, new planner. We'll talk about that later too. But it just feels like a fresh start for so many people. And my assumption is that's why it became such a big thing, right? It's like just binge and do whatever you want up until December 31st. And then, January 1st, which is funny because you would think a lot of people would wake up with like a hangover or like groggy or just like tired from staying up past midnight on New Year's. So January 1st being the day to kick off new habits seems a little silly.
Right? Yeah, I guess. And like this time it landed on a weekend too. So to start, because the thing, a lot of people I noticed did launch like a bunch of New Year's programs or New Year's specials where it's like a week and you try whatever it is that they're doing. And I was just like, I'm not working out on the weekend.
You crazy?
You crazy? I'm not working out. Start on Monday. That's my beginning of New Year.
Right?
But it's kind of weird that, if you were doing a drinking party the day before, why would you? But, and this is just one of my New Year's resolutions. So I'm doing dry January. I've always done dry January, so that was easy for me because it's kind of nice because we had a little too much fun in New Year's anyway. We just had a couple friends come over, and it was easy to kick off that New Year's resolution. Let's just say,
like, I need a break.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
And I think it's a good reset too, because especially the holidays, you consume so much alcohol.
And sugar and salt and just everything. I loved every minute of it.
Oh yeah. It's one time that I can overindulge.
Right? Yeah, it feels good. But the interesting thing too, New Year's resolutions are so big, and like you said, they can consume our social media feeds, our conversations and everything. But within even the first 2 weeks of January, already almost a quarter of people have dropped their resolution. That's pretty quick.
That's really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is it only 19% actually end up sticking with it?
I think so, yeah. Right? So it's interesting that something that falls off and so quickly for so many people, why do we keep setting New Year's resolutions over and over again? But here we are, we do it. That's
true. So what are your thoughts on New Year's resolutions then?
I don't love them. I actually saw someone post something that said New Year's intentions, which I like that also.
Like that much better.
So if you're going to set something, maybe it's an intention rather than a resolution. But I don't know, I don't think you magically wake up on January 1st as a new person. The whole new year, new me drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because what's wrong with the old you? Why do you need to let that go? Yes, there may be things that you want to change, and there might be things you want to enhance or things you want to let go of in your life, but that doesn't mean you have to be a whole new person, nor can you be a whole new person just because it's a new year.
Right.
So I just find it misleading, or I don't know.
And I feel like there's a lot of pressure too to be a whole new person, because then you feel like, okay, well, if I'm a whole new person, not only do I change my diet, I have to change my my clothes. I need to change how I act. That's a lot to change. I find it hard to change one habit. I can't imagine changing a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely. That's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say did you say change your diet? That's what you said?
Yeah. That's the biggest
and that's,
one.
Yeah. But New Year's resolution is so focused on the diet culture.
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole other episode and conversation we need to have it one day.
Yeah.
But that is the thing. It's you need to get fit. You need to drop the weight. You need to do this. You need to do that. And it's shaming for so many people. And I think that maybe is why I have this
reservation.
Weird, yeah. I'm just ooh, I don't like it, because it's almost like we're making ourselves bad.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because I'm realizing now, when I was young and we're talking really young, I thought New Year's resolution meant only for diet. Like, I didn't realize it was something that you could choose what it is that you are
interesting
resolving or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like when I grew up, I thought that it was a diet thing. Luckily, like my mom was never big into a lot of diets, but I did have family members that were, and every single New Year's they do those cleanses. Yeah. but they would do that. So for me, like, I think that's like growing up, the connection I've always made. I don't have as much of a reservation. I am unfortunately one of those people that I used to be a serial resolutioner, in the sense of like I would eat super, super unhealthy and overindulge during the holidays. And then I would gain a lot of weight, and I would make the New Year's resolution to lose X weight that I gained. And unfortunately, I did it with like those fad diets. I did it super unhealthy. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I took like the before and afters, and I I went on the scale every single day. And of course, because I was putting this unrealistic restriction on myself, of course I failed at it, you know. And then it brought me down this like huge loop. And I do think that's why I do sometimes have a really unhealthy relationship with food, is because of even the New Year's resolution. But now that I'm older, I'm kind of starting to see, now that I've read a lot more books and I'm starting to be more intuitive with my eating and starting to develop a better better mindset on food in general. I am looking back at that now, and I feel sad for past Stephanie, but at the same time I can't fault past Stephanie and or people that do fall under that, because it is true that our culture literally markets.
Oh yeah, I've unfollowed a lot of people recently online because that's all they seem to be about right now. Yeah, and that's tough.
Drink the green
There's
juice.
A lot of fitness and nutrition people out there who are giving great messages right now too, right? Where it's not body shaming or making yourself bad or anything. It's like, focus on this because you want to be healthy, not because you need to be skinny or a certain size or whatever.
Get more movement in just to move, because
but it's tough. But like I love that you're not, you know, placing blame on old Stephanie or, you know, past Stephanie, because there's nothing you can do. It's outside of your control now. And you did the best that you could with what you had at the time.
Exactly.
You didn't know any different.
But yeah, I think, and that's why it's ironic that perhaps that I don't have a dislike for New Year's resolutions. Like, I still set resolutions, but I do I never put and I like the word intention, because that's basically what they are. And that's another thing too that I'm kind of curious about. I always thought that a New Year's resolution was a goal that had a time and an ending. Whereas now I'm noticing that more and more people are using New Year's resolutions as more so like an intention for the whole year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's cool. So like the intention to be more patient or something like that, for instance, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I am seeing a little bit more of that too. And like, how do you measure that? And do you put an end date on it, or is it just something you naturally become more of?
But then does it make it a resolution anymore then? Right? Like, that's because a resolution, I feel like it has to have an end date. And that's where my brain is just like, I need to know that. I need to know. Like, is this a resolution? Like, I'm totally cool. I already do set intentions for the new year, but I think it's different from a resolution. So like I said, I have the resolution every single year for a month to cut out all alcohol. I do have other goals as well that I'm sure we'll talk about soon, but I do think it's interesting that, and even some of our responses that we got, I was it's interesting to me, you know?
Yeah. I was chatting with Bernadette, who we had last season as a guest as well, because we did a little working date today, and she recently did a poll through FitLife online to ask people about New Year's resolutions, and she was actually surprised how many said they don't set them too. So just to kind of keep with that, you know.
And she's in the fitness industry, so that's kind of cool to know.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know, some people have goals, and maybe it's just whatever you want it to be. Because I'm looking at the definition again here too, right? And it just says like some way to improve your life at the start of the new year.
That's
so
true.
Whether that's like a specific goal or a different state of mind or a different way of being, you could have an end date, maybe not.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we go back to our habits episode too, right? Like, we all do things in such different ways, as we know.
That's true.
So maybe some people, like, a serial goal setter like myself needs like a specific measurable deadline if I'm gonna do it.
Something to obtain.
Where other people may need it a little, you know, they might not need that same structure to it or whatnot. So yeah, it's open to interpretation perhaps.
That's true. No, that's very true.
But I know you wanted an answer. I'm not giving you one.
Give me an answer. No, it's more of like it's half rhetorical, just because it's just something I've always thought about, because it's just so unknown, and not a lot of people talk about if they do have resolutions, because again, it's kind of looked on as a negative nowadays, because it does have that negative connotation of the diet cultures and like the bad diet cultures, you know, like it's good to have a healthy diet, but then there's also the fad diet. We'll have to go into that a whole different one. We could go down a huge rabbit hole with that one.
Yeah, that could get dangerous.
But yeah, I do kind of wonder if that's part of it, but
could be.
Yeah,
it could be. And like, because like if we're going to be sitting here in June, we're not going to be talking about our New Year's resolutions anymore, right?
Yeah.
So they eventually do fizzle off. And like the quarter of people who stop even within the first 2 weeks, even those who are still working on it, are they talking about it? Are they, you know, how much is it front of mind, and what does that look like for their day to day, so that they do keep going with it? Because I find like if I'm working on something, like really working on incorporating something new, I need to have it top of mind. I need to be talking about it. I need that accountability. Yeah. But that's because I'm an obliger.
True.
So I don't know, like it's neat how it's all really constructed together. And then I'm thinking too, like last year people might have been like really great, like doing killer, and then middle of March the world shuts down,
right?
So we always are going to have these external factors, hopefully not always as extreme as COVID, but things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So how do you keep up with your resolutions or your goals or whatnot when you're faced with these extreme things?
I was gonna say, and even looking back at 2020, like some people might not even want to set a goal, because why be excited about something if we don't really know what's going on, and we're only 6 days in, and let's not look at the news. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can kind of see that end of the coin too, where everyone's just kind of again living day by day instead of future focused, which I think is very interesting. That shift, because so much our culture before COVID was future focused, and I guess it's more now and more in the present of day to day.
And that's tough. Like I'm a huge believer of like being in the moment. Yeah. Right. Being present where you are. But I also really like to know where I'm going, because otherwise, like, what do I know? Like, how do I know what to do today if I don't know what I'm working towards? Or, you know, like being present once you're there, like right now, you know, my mind could be wandering and going in different directions. And I do get a little bit squirrel brain, shiny button syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But it is scary, I think, to set goals this year. But also I think it's important still. I know it is for me. Like if I was feeling really lost. I didn't really plan to talk about this, but that's okay. That's what we love. This but I found myself feeling like really lost and like unsure about what I wanted to do and who I was or whatever. Like not like a super big depression or anything, but just like down and whatever. And I realized like I don't have a specific big goal. Like I hadn't had something identified for me to work towards, like whether it's, you know, running a race or doing, you know, it didn't have to be anything huge, but something. Yeah. And that became very apparent to me. And I was like, that's why I'm feeling really lost. Because I didn't know how to spend my time, and I didn't know what to be striving for. And it just felt really weird. I mean, the holidays can feel tough as it is, and this year was different, but that was a big thing that came up for me over the holidays, where I was just like, I need a goal. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're such a goal person too. Like I find you're always doing something, and you always have like something on your to-do list, which I think is so awesome. That like I'm kind of glad that you did take that time though. It's almost like it was a mini challenge for you to have nothing to do. I remember you texting me, you're like, this is weird.
I really did embrace it though. Even things that I like, personal things that I wanted to do, but they needed to be done on my laptop, I didn't want to do them because I didn't want to open my laptop.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Because I just was scared to get sucked in to all this other stuff, right? So I did not work at all for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yay me.
Yay.
High five. Felt good.
I really love what you said there, Julianne, because I think you really needed that break. And another thing that I kind of want to circle back on is the Instagram results that we got. So I did do a poll, but then I also asked a question. And it was, if you did do a New Year's resolution, did you stick with it? What are your thoughts on New Year's resolution? It was pretty much an open-ended question in a sense. And we got quite a few really good responses. And I do kind of want to read some of them out because I really appreciate them. So one person said, I choose not to set myself up to fail with a resolution. Instead, I choose a mindset, mindful 2021.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
I like
very
that one
cool.
a lot. And another one said, if we truly want to make a change, dates don't matter. It's our attitude and commitment. Which is kind of true. And I think that's, again, where we go back into like the question of, do you need to set a date to it? And she kind of was like, yeah, you don't really need to set a date as long as it's an attitude and a commitment to something.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a new year or a Monday or a start of the month. You know, it's just, if you decide at 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon, that's when you're deciding and committing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Interesting.
And then another one that we got that I also really, really like. I like them all. They're all really good. Okay, they're not a favorite. But to become more courageous and decisive, to not hold myself back, which that one I'm just like, yes, praise hands, 100%.
So how are you doing that?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Please elaborate.
Please let us know these tips and how you achieve this, because your girl ain't decisive. That's for sure.
You're not decisive, Steph?
Remember that time we went to, right before the holidays, we were supposed to go for lunch and we could not decide what to eat for lunch? That's how decisive
So we had pretzel maker.
We got pretzels instead because we panicked. And we're both too hungry to decide. Pretzels
Just
and coffee. Perfect combo.
It was all about the company.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, that's a prime example of indecisiveness.
So bad. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. That's really cool. I was just going to tell a funny story about me. Like, Dave laughs at me because he's like, you make all these decisions at work and you can do all this stuff. And he's like, and then I ask you where you want to go for dinner or what you want to eat. And it's like the world has ended and you cannot decide. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't.
Don't want to spend that money and then regret it.
Yeah. Like, I want to really enjoy it.
I want to be like, yes, this is exactly what I needed.
Oh,
because the original restaurant that we were supposed to go to, it's actually a really good new little place. But I just wasn't in the mood for that cuisine.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But anyway.
Anyways, we digress.
Yeah,
we digress as we do.
So that's cool. I love hearing what some of our followers and listeners wanted to say. What's on your mind in terms of resolutions or intentions or whatever you want to be calling them?
Oh man. So I usually set, and I this is something that I'd like to hear from our fellow entrepreneurs that may be listening too. I actually do set business goals or resolutions or whatever we're calling them. And then I also set personal goals because I find if I blend them too much together, again, I'm trying to separate business stuff and personal stuff. Right? For my sanity, I need to do that.
Yeah.
So like, for example, one of my business goals, I don't even know if I should say it. They always say that you shouldn't put things out there if you don't want them to come true or to happen. Yeah, it's like a mindset thing if you put it out there.
It's like saying your birthday wish out loud before you blow out the candles.
Yeah, like it's like you should almost keep some goals secret, but I'm just like, it's not a big deal. But one of my business goals is actually to create or release 1 to 2 items per week for my passive income, because I actually get around $2,000 per year, which in the grand scheme isn't a lot, but I only put like maybe 6 hours worth of work and I don't touch it. It's just on Etsy and it just comes to me when I sleep, which is really nice. So I kind of wonder if I did put more time into that income and I did try to advertise it a little bit more, how much higher that number would go, because if I'm making 2,000 without doing anything, I kind of wonder. And this was like 2,000 from like 2017, so like it's been about $5,000 since I started it if I were to collect everything together, which is not bad for 3 years.
That's great. For passive income,
huge. Right? And like that's the goal, right, is to have a little bit of extra passive income. So yeah, that's like my business goal, and I feel like that is achievable because a lot of the time I'll make excuses for my passive income because I'm like, oh, well, that's not making me money right now. I feel guilty working on it when I should be working on clients or getting more clients, whereas if I did put more time, it's just a weird way of thinking about it.
Like a mental switch, right? Yeah. It's like put in a little bit more time, but then make money while you sleep.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Exactly. So yeah, making that commitment. And then I always set a personal goal this year. So like I do want to get healthier. I have unfortunately put on a lot of weight, but that's mostly stress related weight due to what's going on with my family and stuff like that. And I am a stress eater, unfortunately. I don't know why. And I'm not really happy with the way I look, to be perfectly honest. And I have noticed that my skin has had massive breakouts, and I feel super self-conscious not wearing makeup and stuff like that, like even to my husband. And I know that if it's because I'm eating too much dairy and sugar, and that's usually when my face breaks out the way it does. So I know it's just I need to switch some things. So I do know I know I need to get healthier, and I think that's of course one thing that I am really trying to be more mindful of. So I am working out now. I'm just trying to figure out what I do like to do for working out. And then I am a vegetarian, and for some reason some people think that when you're a vegetarian or vegan it automatically makes you healthy. But it's so not true. You can be an unhealthy vegan or vegetarian. There's so many processed vegan and vegetarian alternatives out there.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to eat more vegetables and getting as much of that, and kind of just being more mindful of what we're eating and why we're eating it. And I have noticed that, I know it's only been like 6 days, but I have noticed that even just the little changes, I'm feeling a lot more energy during the day and not doing the midday crashes, which in 6 days I'm happy that that's already started. But yeah, I do have a couple other ones, but I kind of, before I go into those ones, I'd love to hear some of your New Year's intentions. I was about to say resolutions.
Resolutions, intentions. What are you doing? Yeah, well, I'll stick with the same flow. I guess I'll talk about business first. Something I've been struggling with a little bit is just, and we've talked about this a lot, like defining my brand, because I do so many different things, right? So I do my leadership coaching through Chandler Coaches, and I have our podcast, the Deep Sea Fishing. I serve on a couple different boards. I also want to I want to get booked for speaking engagements. I really like talking. I like, whether it's facilitating workshops or doing like a keynote speech.
And you're so good at it too. You're such a natural speaker.
Thank you. And but I've noticed that I keep internally saying like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish that would happen, or like I'll talk to a friend about it, but I'm not actually putting it out there, and I'm not actually doing anything about it. Yeah. So a goal for this year is to really define what my brand is and have it so that if someone were to stumble upon me, they could clearly see what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm making baby steps towards it. And I'm recognizing that like running a business, you don't have it all perfect from day one. And it's going to be something that you work at forever. Sorry if I'm bursting anybody's bubble. But I'm only a couple years into this and realizing that now for myself too, where at the beginning it's like, okay, I got my website, I got this and that, and I'm perfect. Everyone's just going to come flocking.
Yeah.
They don't.
They don't.
I wish. It'd be great. But I just need to put that time into it. And because of that too, although I really didn't want to do this, I'm tracking my time more now. So I want to see like, where am I spending time on Thriving Tides with Chandler Coaches, CCTP, Empower, Fishing, and then my own business.
Jeez. That's a massive
right? And that's why. Because if I spend my time all in one area, well, how are the other ones going to come forward? But also like Chandler Coaches is where I'm making the majority of my money right now. So it would make sense that the majority of my time is there.
Yeah, of course.
But if I do want to make money in other ways, I need to put time there. So it's just balancing all of that. So I am a resolution or a new intention is I'm going to track my time, and then each month analyze how is that working out? Like, what does that look like? What is that amounting to?
Yeah. And how to adapt it to a certain other goal that you may have.
Exactly.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of a fluid goal. It's going to change and evolve as the year goes on.
That's kind of cool.
But it's at least giving me the data points to really understand what's happening. And then I'm also going to finish my coactive coaching certification. Nice. I'm excited for. So then I will be part of the International Coaching Federation, ICF certified, which is cool too. And that is just a goal of mine. I know I'm a great coach already, but this is helping me just like hone those skills and become better, and then also get to be part of that group, I guess, right? And just connected to other people and whatnot. So, and
it could also, it will help your confidence too. You are already confident, you know that you know what you're doing, but it's just that extra steps.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, we always have something to learn.
Exactly.
We're never, if you're at the point where you think you know it all,
no,
you're wrong.
It's so true. Yeah. And that's why I always think, this is just a random tangent, of course, but the whole term like expert, how can you be an expert at anything when things are changing and evolving so much in our society? Like it's just, it seems weird, but that's a whole different
like maybe you're an expert at adapting.
Yeah.
That would be key, but
yeah.
So that's where I'm focused business wise. Still a lot of uncertainty, right, with everything that keeps changing, but going to at least have my arms around it a little bit better this year. Personal goals, not a lot of huge ones. Health is one for me too. So I can get, like, it's funny, I'm going more towards data points for my business and I'm pulling away from it in my personal life, and I'm just realizing this as I'm sharing this information with you, so it's kind of funny. But for years I have been a like food tracker, like MyFitnessPal, always need to know like what am I eating, tracking it,
Really?
And it's exhausting.
Oh yeah.
And like I'll do it for a while and then I'll stop and then I'll start to gain some weight. So I think I need to do it again. And it's like back and forth. But my goal is to become more intuitive with my eating and with my workouts. So listening to my body. Am I hungry? What am I actually hungry for? Just being smarter about it, I guess. And recognizing the energy levels, like the afternoon crashes, like you were saying, things like that too.
What makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good.
And not labeling anything as good or bad, like still, having the intention of getting fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, less processed food in my body, but I'm still we still have so much Christmas treats in our house. It's insane. And I'm eating it every day.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not feeling bad about it, and that is a huge shift for me. Because I'd be like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat this. But I'm like, no, I want this piece of chocolate, and I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And then the working out, too. Like, I know I don't have to work out every day. I'm getting older and more rickety. And things hurt. And when things hurt, I need to slow down.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's been big, too. But so that's kind of that more intuitive, and then just spending more quality time with people, so less distraction and really learning to compartmentalize and like turn my work brain off when I'm not working. And I really was able to practice that over the holidays, and I think it went really well. So I think now I know for myself I can do it, which seems like a silly thing to some people, because some people are very easy to turn it off, but I'm not like that. So I think that was a really good test for me. I've experienced it now and I know how good it can feel. And even like for the story queen that I am, like I really took a big step back from everything. Like some people might have been like, is she alive? Like what was going on here? But it was great. Yeah. I took just pictures on my phone. Like I was saying this when I was hiking with Emily one day. I was like, I used to always be like, oh, I need to post the story like as it's happening, whatever. But it's like, no, like if it's something you want to capture, just take the picture.
And then do it later.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe you don't even need to. Maybe just having it on my phone for me to look at relive the memory is enough.
Exactly.
So
and then still live in that moment.
Little mind
as well.
Little mind shifts have been really great. So I just want to keep building on that as the year goes on. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I like this just came up as a thought when you were talking, but data is for business, not for your diet. Like that.
Stephanie's tagline.
Stephanie's new tagline of 2021.
Yeah.
I do kind of like that because, I feel like sometimes we do put too much pressure on the numbers. And it's funny because even I was watching a YouTube video a little while ago and they're like, the numbers on the scale don't make a difference because there's so many other factors too with it. Whereas, I guess your business, you can't really, there's only a couple factors.
Yeah.
Data really does
Can't
make a
step
difference.
on a scale.
Yeah.
Unless you got all your cash just sitting there and you're weighing that. But yeah, I actually hid my scale from myself because I was like over the holidays too. Like I was eating a lot more, drinking a lot more, and I could I could feel myself with probably like waterlogged and all that kind of stuff.
Jeans are fitting a little.
And I mean, wearing stretchy pants every day doesn't help either.
Yeah.
But I then found myself starting to step on the scale every morning and not being happy with the number that I saw. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this to myself?
Why am I sabotaging myself right now?
So away it goes. I don't see it. So I don't want to step on it.
Yeah, I think I got rid of mine. Oh no, she's right there. Oh,
she's hidden too.
Yeah,
you have to rehide.
She's
it
collecting
now.
dust because I don't believe in the scale at all.
No, and not that since I've stopped stepping on it, I've felt better.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Right? Yeah. We can go on a whole different tangent on that too. Yeah, well, definitely. I would like to get like another health expert. Like when we brought Caitlin in, that was real. Like that was an eye opener, and that was really awesome. So if you haven't checked out that episode, definitely check that out. That episode out too. But yeah, it's one of those conversations that I feel like we do need to have more of.
Yeah,
for sure.
From different perspectives. Like there's so many different people out there who can share great information with us. And yeah,
especially with like, again, just bringing it back to New Year's resolutions too, it is still the number one goal that people have. Because it is true, we do tend to indulge, and I find it's the perfect reset. And I think if you are doing like going for a diet, and like we're not judging at all, like that's totally
do what works
works for you, but just remember that don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think,
and do it like if you want to lose weight and if you want to whatever, like please love yourself through the process.
Yes.
Don't make yourself bad or shame or whatever like that, because I find that I've been there and I know that's a really hard thing to change, but it doesn't help the process. Right? And if it's like, I have to work out because I ate this chocolate, or I have to do this because of that, and you're punishing yourself, then you're not making it a joyful, fun experience.
Yeah. That's actually kind of funny because one of my other personal goals, so I have another two that I haven't talked about yet, but that's grace. Having grace with yourself. And that's not just like the religious grace, but like grace as in like being easy on yourself and not passing judgment on either you or other people around. And that's one of them for myself, because I do put pressures on myself. I actually had a little panic attack right before New Year's, because it's that like awkward time in between Christmas and New Year's where there's kind of like a lull into the unknown. I wasn't working, and then I kind of did this like little mental spiral, but I digress. And anyways, I was thinking like, okay, so there's no more funding for COVID in businesses. So are people even going to want to hire me at my rate? Am I going to have to discount my services? Am I going to have to pivot and change my business altogether? And I started piling on all these worries and thinking about all these worries over and over again. And I was constantly thinking about my future, and I wasn't in the now. And that's when I was just kind of like, we can't predict the future. So having that grace and that faith that everything's going to be okay, and there's no point in feeling like you need to know everything right now. I think, like, unfortunately, like the biggest dreaded word of 2020 was adapting and pivoting. Pivot. But at the same time, I do kind of still embrace those words, because it's having the grace and faith that, okay, even though things are going to change and this is the first year that I feel like I don't really know exactly what's going to happen with me and my business. It's having that grace and faith and just following my intuition more. So I'm just going to announce it on here. I'll probably make another post on it too, and I'm sure I'll post about it again. But one of my things was I kind of took a step back and I looked, and I am officially no longer a brand specialist at Startup Zone. I just kind of looked at where I was, and even though I love doing it and I love coaching businesses, it just didn't work with my life right now, like with everything that's going on in my personal life, with my family, my businesses. My husband was a little bit scared because it's another loss of revenue, but at the same time, it just didn't feel right. And my intuition was just saying, Steph, like you need to cut some things in order to fill with other things, which just sounds kind of weird, but like, and oh my goodness, the fear, I was way below the line. Like I just was so fearful that if I do this, no one's going to want to work with me because I don't have that specialist attached to my name anymore. And then I started thinking, why do I think that way, that this one title defines who I am as a person? Right. And so then again, it's that little thing. And even though I'm really sad, I'm so sad that I left that community. I am still really excited to see what the time will bring because of it in a interesting way.
What space is that going to open up for you now, right? And if you hadn't, maybe you would miss out on an incredible opportunity that's not far into the future.
Right?
Right, because it might present you and then you don't think you have the time for it or the bandwidth or whatever. So you're just opening yourself up to new possibilities.
Exactly. Maybe that time is putting more time in my passive incomes that I really am feeling drawn to right now.
Yeah.
And I have been doing a lot of reading and trying to engage more with my intuitive side and figuring out what it is that I need to be fulfilled in, because I do love my job. I do love what I do. But I'm not feeling fulfilled right now. And that's just me being completely 100% honest. Again, it's nothing on that. It's just I know that 2021 is going to be a little bit different. And so how can I control what I can control?
Yes.
Let
go of what you can't.
Exactly. Yep. And just have faith and grace that shit's probably going to hit the fan. Things are probably they're going to have a couple off days, but then just remember to think back into the now instead of the worries of the future, which is really hard for me. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be the biggest resolution or intention that I'm setting for myself, because usually it is mostly just health related that I do. This is my first year setting such a big goal to get the chip off my shoulder in a sense, and just kind of, yeah.
I'm proud of you. I think that's really cool. It's big of you to recognize it, right? And not to just push it aside and not want to deal with it, but to face it head on and know that it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But you're going to get through it, and, we'll talk through it.
I was going to say, I have like a coach on standby. And
it's like, she helps me with my branding. I help her with her. It's great.
We have a symbiotic relationship. We help each other. Is that the scientific term? I'm not sure.
Whatever it is, I like it.
Yes, I'm down with it.
Yeah. It's so important to recognize when something isn't working in your life, though, and to be willing to just take that leap. I'm like trying to, I've done it several times over the last 4 or 5 years, whether it's leaving a relationship, leaving a company. It never is easy.
Oh, gosh,
right. There's always fear of what's on the other side and what's that going to look like. But then to not, the expansiveness of what could be is also very exciting and scary.
Right. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes back to the self-care too. Yes, one of the resolutions is to take care of myself and like the health aspect, but so often we put aside the emotional aspect of everything too.
Yeah.
So
big time. Yeah.
I wonder if some people have more self-care in their resolutions.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
That is part of my data that I'm tracking. Because I couldn't help myself. So I have my spreadsheet because I love Excel, and I have like what I'm doing for work, but then I also am logging like the workouts that I do just so I can see, and that's more so to make sure that I'm taking rest days every so often. So I like to look back and be like, okay, it's been how many days since I've taken a rest, and I want to log the kilometers that I run because that's fun for me.
Well, yeah, that's fun because you can always do like what those other people do, where you can be like, oh, I ran the distance of the island.
Yeah, you know, just kind of neat. And I mean, I use Runkeeper, but it's just, I don't know. This is just a fun way for me to look at it if I'm tracking other things there anyway. But I'm also tracking self-care indulgences.
Oh, that's cool.
So anything that's beyond like my daily like morning routine and stuff like that. Like last night I did a face mask. So I put that on there because I want to make sure at least once a week that I'm doing something a little extra for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, because like sometimes we can be like, oh yeah, I take care of myself. I
Yeah.
practice self-care. But then do you actually? Is the data there?
I love numbers. Yeah. Put it in my spreadsheet. Did my mask last night.
I love it.
And it just is a nice, similar to, you know, tracking to make sure I've taken a rest day. This is a nice way for me to look back and be like, oh, it's been like 2 weeks since I've done something a little extra. I don't want it to get to that point. I want it to be at least one thing a week.
Yeah.
And I did a little poll on my own Instagram asking people their favorite self-care.
Ooh.
And I laughed because 2 resounding things came out. One was sleeping. I was like, yes, I love sleeping.
We haven't done a sleeping episode.
No.
We'll have to do that. Okay,
Yes.
table
it's
that.
on our list.
Yes,
Yeah,
sweet.
I cleaned up our list the other day and it's there. Don't you worry. I'm a nerd. And baths.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Like, I need to give them another try. I feel like I need, like, was it Monica that made baths for Chandler and like got him to love them, right? I feel like I need a Monica to like come over and like set my bath for me.
I'll be your Monica, and I'll even bring a little toy boat for you.
Yes. But I don't know. Like, I love hot tubs.
Yeah.
So I feel like I should love baths, and maybe I just need to give them another try.
I was gonna say I'm kind of shocked
the
because
best,
I feel like
bath bombs or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I feel like you would like them because you could read like a book and you're such a reader. Like I feel like it'd be like the perfect time for you
to. It is about me, but
and like relax your muscles. You could have. Oh, that's another thing too. Like you're at the Epsom salts, get those and stuff.
I've bought bags of Epsom salts several times over the years, and they just I move and I throw them out or whatever because I don't use them.
So in a weird way, I'm gonna come over and fix you a bath, and then I'll be like, "Hi, Dave," and then I'll just leave.
Perfect. And the thing too is that like, well, Thursdays I'm here.
Yeah.
But Mondays and Wednesdays he's gone to the studio, so I usually have the house to myself too.
Yeah.
Not that I need him to not be there, but we do only have one bathroom, so.
Yeah, and plus when he's there, I'm sure you want to spend time with him too.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like, yeah.
A nice thing we've actually gotten good at is reading together because he's gotten into reading more so in the last like 3 or 4 months maybe. I don't know. He'd probably correct me, but that's fine. He won't listen to this. He might.
I was gonna say I don't know. He
might. But we'll be like, "What do you feel like doing?" And instead of always just watching a show, because we do that so much.
Yeah.
Reading is a big form of self-care for me too. So we'll curl up on the couch, light a candle, and we'll get our books out, and it's just like,
so you're okay. So I was picturing like you read a paragraph and then he reads a paragraph.
No, like we each read our own books.
I'm just like, how is he liking the books that you read?
Right. No, yeah, we read very different books. But yeah, so that's kind of nice too.
Awesome.
Just something. It works.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you that are perhaps doing a goal that has an end date or setting a resolution, we actually came across this article on Inc.com, and it was 7 tips to make sure you are actually keeping your New Year's resolution this time. And it's cool because it's actually written by a therapist, which I think is really cool because by the sounds of it, she kind of interacts with a lot of people that do make resolutions and when they fail. And I think that's where you got the 23% of people quit and that only 19% of people stick to their goals in the long haul. And I think that's kind of cool. And she actually sets out a couple different key points of how to actually make your resolution stick, which I think is kind of cool. And I thought we should go through it and see what you think about it and what we think about it. And perhaps it may help you if you're finding that, because as this launches, it'll be the middle of January. Yeah. So if you're starting to lose your resolution or your goal, this is like your whip back.
Yeah.
not whip back. That sounds weird. But you know what I mean.
Refocus.
Yeah, you're refocused. Yeah, there we go. I like that better. Whip back.
Whip it.
My intense Taurus is coming out right now.
Look out.
Okay, so the first one that she suggests is to create a measurable goal. So kind of like what you were saying, that you don't want to say, oh, I just want to get healthier. You want to actually be like a tangible goal that I want to go to the gym 3 nights a week, or I want to see my friends twice a month. So it's a clear target to aim for.
Yeah. Simple.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like measurable being the key thing. And like if you've ever looked at SMART goals, that's one of the key things from that acronym, right? Like measurable is key, because you just get lost in it, right? Like what would healthier mean? Or like if you say like I want to be more peaceful, well,
what does that mean?
What do you mean? Does that mean you want to meditate? Does that mean you want to just stop having arguments with people? Like I don't know. It doesn't really it's not clear.
Yeah.
So just knowing like this is the action I'm taking so that I know I'm achieving the goal.
True.
Yeah.
No, I like that. But then I also go back to the whole, I had attained, like I set measurable goals of losing 10 pounds, but perhaps they were unrealistic in the time frame.
Realistic
so and that's another thing too. Is like maybe that's another key point. I can't remember. It's been a while since I looked at this, but yeah, I do agree with the measurable goal, but
measurable
realistic.
And realistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So number 2 is identifying clear action steps. So that's we kind of talked about this a little bit on the habits of, you can't just say I'm going to create a habit. You need to take the steps of, okay, what does that mean to create the habit? So if you are wanting to work out more, you put your clothes out the night before, because that's an actionable step. So one of what she says is, whether you are going to eat a salad for lunch every day, or you're going to stop eating out until you've paid off your credit card bill, commit to taking action that will help you get closer to your goal, which I think is kind of cool. So saying, I'm not going to go out for lunch every day because I want to clear my bill.
And like whatever it looks like for you, right? And it's interesting. Well, I like that she's not just doing all weight loss stuff. But yeah, like if you're trying to pay off your credit card and you go out to eat every single day, then that would be a good one, right? Like I don't, it's, but maybe I'm only going to go out to eat once a week until it's paid off too, right? Like you don't have to, sometimes we don't have to go so extreme. I think it's important to, and we'll probably talk about this later too, but if right now you're working out 0, don't say you're going to work out 7 days a week. If now you're eating out 5 work days of the week, don't expect that you're going to cut down to 0 right away, right? Like action steps are great, but again, I think it's that like realisticness, same as that measurable goal. We have to keep that realism as a through line through all of these steps.
Exactly. And if your goal is like business related, like I want to accomplish more tasks through the week, and you say only do about 3 things, like actionable steps 3 per day, and you're like, I want to do at least 5 things off my list per day, maybe start with 4. I like that. Like take the gradual steps.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Number 3, set yourself up for success. So it's easy to feel motivated early in on the process. Everyone's all excited. You're like, yeah, we're going to do this. But after a week or 2, your motivation will naturally wane. So prepare yourself for that dip in motivation and set yourself up for success well in advance. Make bad habits inconvenient and good habits always convenient, which that goes back to our habits episode. So it's almost kind of like the New Year's resolution is an opportunity to
hone your habits.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Make it easy.
And like her example was store the cookies in a hard to reach place.
Or don't buy them.
Yeah. Keep your workout gear packed up and ready to go, which that was a big one for me when I used to work out. I used to always do it the morning of, and then I'd be like, screw this.
I don't want to.
I don't feel like it. I'm running out of time. That always excuse.
Well, I was talking to a friend this week who was like, yeah, I got up in the morning and I packed my lunch and whatever. I was like, you pack your lunch in the morning? I was like, how do you make sure you're going to get it done? Right? Like, and she's like, no, she's like, I'm not going to keep doing it. She slipped that time, but luckily still did it. But doing it the night before, right, is always so much easier than trying to cram another thing into an already rushed morning. Really? I was just like, girl,
Oh, see, I used to always do my lunches in the morning, but I was always one of those people. I like when I had a 9 to 5 job that I'd have to go at. I would give myself a little extra long.
Yeah.
Like I was always the
Well, if
person
that was
even early
part
though.
of your routine,
Yeah.
then I guess that would make more sense. But
Exactly.
I always loved my sleep. And I usually would work out in the morning too when I had a traditional 9 to 5 too. So that took up a lot of my time.
That's fair.
No judgment.
No judgment
Just
at all here.
Make it easy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So number 4 is to plan for obstacles. So there will always be temptations and obstacles that could easily derail you. Hashtag 2020. So it could be an invitation to a dinner that could blow your budget. She does go back to the diet here. Or it could be the form of a special project at work that leaves you with fewer hours to devote to your goals. So think about the obstacles you're likely to encounter in the first few weeks after establishing your resolution. Consider how you'll navigate these challenges and develop a plan. I feel like that's like the biggest thing of 2020, obstacles. What were the obstacles?
What weren't the obstacles?
Right.
It might be a shorter list. I think this too, it's how do you go on a no diet? Like getting comfortable with saying no to things, because these temptations will come up, right?
So that's a big one.
That's tough for a lot of people, right? Even though they know they have this goal, it's like that social pressure or, not wanting to miss out on things.
The
then
FOMO.
feeling that they have to apologize for it, which you don't.
No.
We're going to talk about that on an upcoming episode.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's good to know, and like who are those like trigger people perhaps too that are more likely to be the obstacles, because maybe it's your boss, your spouse, your best friend. Like there could be different specific people or specific events or times of day, different,
It's true.
so many variables in our lives.
Exactly. And then planning ahead to be able to feel equipped to handle said person or event.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And then the next one, number 5, is to start when you're ready. And it's funny because we actually talked about this at the first one. Everyone says that there's no need she says here, there's no need to launch your resolution on January 1st. In fact, starting on January 1st actually might put you at a disadvantage. And I thought that's funny that we actually talked about this, because I put this like last week when we first started re-looking at notes and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool that it is true. Like, why do we think we need to do it right on the 1st?
Because everybody else is doing it.
Like, if they jump off a cliff,
Conformity.
I need to jump off the cliff.
Right.
But she says, start working on your goal when you're ready. That's not to say that you need to wait until you feel fully confident before starting, because that may never happen.
That's a good point.
But make sure that you are committed to the goal and you've thought through what you'll need to do and how you're going to do it. So again, the previous tips that she does recommend, the how, what, when. Again, back to the habits, the how, what, when, where, whys.
Yeah, this makes me wonder, like, with the amount of people that fall off within the first couple of weeks, is it because they simply made a resolution because they felt like they had to?
I wonder. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's what people do for the new year,
or
so
they
I should.
saw a lot of people
or someone
do
else
it.
is doing this, so I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but I wasn't fully committed, I wasn't fully ready. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? So why commit to it if you're not 100%. Really feeling it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Be different.
That's
Do
just
your own
setting
thing.
yourself up for failure too, because if you're not fully 100% into it, and especially it's like this time of year, there's so many more ads and like marketing, even subtle marketing that I don't think people even realize of stuff to get to fix you.
This will fix you. This will
new year, new me thing again, right? Like that's the whole. It's kind of interesting because I always see the quick flip from like holiday purchases to make purchases for yourself. Now take care of you. Like it's very interesting.
It is.
So number 6 is to track your progress. So kind of like what you're doing, Mrs. Data over there.
Like, ooh, I like this one.
Yeah. So you need to know if you're actually headed in the right direction. So it is important to find a way to track your process. So that's a app, calendar, or like Julianne, create a chart, spreadsheet, make a graph, visualize. So that you can actually see if the steps that you're taking are actually helping, and to also see how far you've come to. I think that's a big thing too, especially when it comes to like weight loss too. And again, we always go back to it, but I know that's just the biggest one. But for weight loss, it's maybe not, how you like the numbers on the scale or anything, but also how you feel.
Yeah.
Having a time where you just sit back and be like, okay, how do I actually feel right now? Wait, I haven't had a crash in 2 days. That's awesome, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a good one.
Agreed. That's you just reminded me of something too on my tracker sheet. I should have just brought it up so I would have remembered it all. But mood is something else that I'm tracking.
That's cool.
Every day is what kind of mood I was in, and headaches, because I seem to get them very randomly, and I make assumptions about what they're from, like whether it's from my period or the weather or whatever, but there doesn't always seem to be a logical explanation.
Interesting.
So I want to track them now.
Trying to hack your brain.
You know, because sometimes it feels like I always am suffering from headaches, but that could just be a story that I'm telling myself because they feel so terrible when they happen.
True.
So yeah, so those are two other things I'm tracking: mood and headaches.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
Data.
Data. Yeah, I think I need to actually add this to my resolutions, because I'm realizing I'm not tracking anything. It's more so just I'm adding things. Like I'm going back into my routine, and I don't like to track my routine because then I feel like it's not a routine anymore. It's more of like a I don't know. I feel obligated to
and
it.
like maybe once your pretty new planner arrives.
Oh, if it ever gets here,
then
I feel
you'll
lost.
be able to, but that'll be a nice spot for you to be able to track stuff too, right? So,
that's true. Yeah, because all my other things, like how do you track being graceful and being easier with yourself?
It could be more something that you're journaling about, or
true.
You know.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I'm just making it harder for myself.
you are. Yeah, make it easy.
Make it easy. Like that's what she said at the step 1. So number 7 is learn from your mistakes. So mistakes are part of the process, but too often people think that one mistake means that they're destined to fail. When you make a mistake, like you skip the gym for a week or you make a ridiculous impulse purchase you can't return, learn from your misstep. And it's funny because she also says, in fact, one study showed that people who are successful in maintaining their resolutions tended to slip up at least 14 times.
Wow.
The vast majority of these successful individuals said that they'd found ways to turn their mistakes into opportunities to grow stronger and become better.
That's cool.
I love that because that's the reason, like past Stephanie with her diet fads, the reason why I quit, yes, because they were unsustainable and that's a whole other bag of worms, but because I failed that one little thing, I was hard on myself and I was like, screw this, I'm not doing this.
What's the point?
What's the point of anything? I'm gonna be fat forever.
You know what I mean? And you're not even fat.
No. Like this is like,
but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool. And it is true that if you just get back on it, you do grow stronger because you're not letting it, switch the dialogue in your head. I'm not sure.
Well, you're learning something new. Like I always go back to the simplest of things, but look at a toddler who's learning how to walk. Yeah. Just because they stand up and fall down doesn't mean they're like, well, guess this isn't for me. Right? Like we're learning something new. We're building something new. Of course we're going to screw up.
And it's going to be different than your day to day. So it is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And I think, but we need to talk more about it. And that's a commitment that I want to make through, my own personal social media channels and here on the podcast too, is talking about the hard shit.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to come in here and pretend that life is perfect and that everything's easy and tickety boo.
Yeah.
It's what are the failures? What are the struggles, so that it humanizes it, and then other people don't look at it and say like, oh, like it's so easy for her. Why can't I do it? What's wrong with me?
Exactly.
Because I fall into that trap when I look at other people. Right. So,
especially with social media, like what we talked about in our social media episodes too. Reel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so much so. And that's even harder for New Year's resolutions nowadays, because then you're looking at other people accomplishing their New Year's resolution and you're just like, oh shit, well, I'm not doing that good. So I suck. Why do I even continue? Right? Yeah. You could even be rocking it and then someone else is doing it a little bit better in your eyes.
In your eyes too. Yes.
In your eyes. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, if they're doing it better than me and I'm only over here, why am I still trying?
Yeah. And they may not even be. Yeah. They might just be going on their social media and saying that they're killing it. Like
exactly.
You
don't even know. Man, that is crazy.
Right.
Because it's not something that we talk about a lot. And I do agree. Like I'm pledging for 2021. I'm already pretty open and honest, but it is so true. Sometimes we can pretend that we're hunky dory and all good and stuff. And that's another reason why I'm kind of happy that we're opening up and starting to take responses for the episode too, to bring your guys' opinions too, because I'm sure you guys feel the same way and want to, you know, say your opinion, because I know there's a couple times where we were super open and honest in season 1 and getting the reply that someone thanked us because they felt like no one was saying it. I'm like, okay, good, because I put myself out there and that was scary as F.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah. But so then the article just basically ends off with her saying, commit to making this your year for lasting change. Yeah. If you've struggled to keep your resolutions in the past, don't lose hope. With a little extra planning, you can change your habits and ultimately change your life. Commit to making this year the year that your resolution is going to stick. And that's why I think it's cool that we're kind of been switching it to intention more so than resolution. Yeah. Because that, I feel, just sings to my heart, the intention. The hippie in me loves the word intention more so.
Yeah, big time. But I think this is a great list just to kind of, you know, if you have a resolution in place or you're still, you know, because you don't have to, if you didn't do it January 1st, that's fine.
So you still have time.
You still have time if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, cool. But if you have one or if you're creating one, just run through these 7 tips and see, you know, do I check those boxes? Where do I fit in? What can I learn from it? Just to make it a little bit easier for yourself. So
exactly.
Good find, Steph.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool one because, I agree. Like, it was the first article, literally the first article that I found that did not talk about diets. Yeah. Which I thought it's just very interesting to me. Like, she did mention it a couple times. A little bit,
but it wasn't the focus.
Yeah. But I would love to hear what you guys are doing too. Like, what are you implementing for this year?
Yeah. Do you have a big scary goal?
Yeah. Do you believe in goals? Is resolution something that you kind of not even bat an eye to, or do you always set goals throughout the year?
I'd love to hear all the different ways that people do it or what they focus on. So cool. It feels so good to be back.
Oh my gosh, it feels so good. And we've got the blankets now that it's winter. It's like cozy vibes. I like it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. Looking forward to this year. And if you guys have any ideas for episodes, we're always ears. We do have a lot of ideas, but we also, again, would love to hear what you guys want to hear from us too. So.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.